Live from central Pennsylvania, this is CBS 21 News This Morning.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for waking up with us. I'm Sherry Christian. Here's what's happening in the news today. Breaking overnight, at least 49 people are now dead after two shootings at mosques in New Zealand. We'll have the latest on the attack. Plus, North Korea announces it's considering ending its moratorium with the U.S. on missile strikes, why the country is now saying the U.S. failed in negotiations during the Hanoi summit. And Pennsylvania looking into high-speed transportation. We'll have more on the study officials are now funding. But first, let's get a check of weather with Steve Knight.
Yeah, boy, has it been awesome this week. Got into the 60s yesterday. We're going to do the same thing again today. It's already really warm. Temperatures in the upper 50s to around 60 degrees even to start the day. We're out ahead of what's left of the bomb cyclone, and now it's just an area of low pressure that eventually will bring us some colder air for the remainder of the weekend. But one more really warm day. Notice a couple of showers up toward Lewistown, Bellefonte. We're looking at stray showers here, especially during the first half of the day. You can see them on our future radar. Stays mild all day long. Cold front comes through overnight tonight. And yes, we will be much colder for the remainder of the weekend. So one more really warm day. Again, that stray shower around looks like less than 1/10 of an inch of rain, well into the 60s. So enjoy. Sunny skies tomorrow, but it's windy and colder. Less wind for St. Patty's Day with some sun with highs in the mid-40s.
Breaking overnight, 49 people have died in an attack at two mosques in New Zealand. Police say one man has been charged with murder in connection to the shootings in Christchurch. This as two other men and one woman are still in custody. Officials say one suspect had streamed the attack live online. And according to reports, another suspect left behind a 70-page manifesto ranting about what he calls, quote, white genocide, driven by, quote, a crisis of mass immigration.
Can now only be described as a terrorist attack. From what we know, it does appear to have been well planned. Two explosive devices attached to suspects' vehicles have now been found and they have been disarmed.
Our Ashley Honey is following the latest developments in the Alert Center. Ashley, what can you tell us?
Sherry, good morning. Devastating news, and there's fear this morning that horrific death toll could continue to climb as Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern, who you just heard from, raises New Zealand's national security threat level to high. We know the shooting happened at those two mosques just outside of Christchurch, the country's most populous city. Witnesses say they saw a man dressed in black enter one of those mosques before hearing dozens of gunshots. In addition to the 49 killed, more than 20 are seriously injured, and of the 4 people arrested, one is Australian. We're learning another is a male in his late 20s who has just been charged with murder and is set to appear in a Christchurch court tomorrow morning. Officials say they don't believe there are any other suspects, but that the investigation is still open. Police this morning urging people in New Zealand not to go to any mosque throughout the day, calling the terrorist incident a terrorist attack, and that none of the suspects had been on any kind of a watch list. So right now we're giving you a live look as we're learning that law enforcement in 2 of the U.S.'s biggest cities are stepping up their presence at local mosques out of an abundance of caution. Right now, this is a look into New York, where police say they're assessing security at locations around the city. Los Angeles PD also says they're providing extra paroles at their mosques.
Also breaking overnight, a senior North Korean official says Kim Jong-un is considering pulling out of a moratorium on missile launches and nuclear tests. The official says the country has no intention of compromising or continuing denuclearization talks with the U.S., saying President Trump missed out on a golden opportunity during the Hanoi summit. Officials say North Korea will only compromise if the U.S. agrees to make changes as well. Meanwhile, in Washington, D.C., the president is expected to veto a measure that disapproves of his national emergency declaration. Yesterday, the Senate passed a resolution overturning the president's declaration to redirect congressional funds to build a border wall with Mexico. Every Democrat voted in favor of the measure, as well as 12 Republicans. They say allowing the declaration would set a bad precedent.
Congress is empowered by the Constitution to adopt laws directing monies to be spent.
This is not about the president or about border security. In fact, I support border security.
Among the Senate Republicans who voted for the resolution was Pennsylvania's Pat Toomey. And Pat Toomey says he supports building a wall at the border, but says the president declaring a national emergency to fund it was ill-advised. Toomey says it should be up to Congress to authorize federal spending. A former Harrisburg Diocese priest is behind bars this morning facing charges of child molestation. 75-year-old John Allen was arrested yesterday morning. He's accused of sexually abusing two altar boys between 1997 and 2002 while he was a priest at St. Margaret Mary's Church in Dauphin County.
Get some closure for these victims would be very, very helpful, I think, and therapeutic.
The investigation into Allen began in October after the diocese notified the district attorney about allegations against him. He was removed from the ministry 17 years ago. Pope Benedict XVI also removed Allen's priesthood in 2006. The Harrisburg Diocese released this statement on the arrest, expressing its sorrow for the victims and saying, quote, "We condemn John Allen's actions and we fully support law enforcement and we cooperated with them on this case." The Lancaster County District Attorney is now suing the Board of Commissioners over accusations of misusing forfeiture funds. DA Craig Stedman says the commissioners are trying to interfere with the powers of his office. The commissioners are questioning Stedman's use of funds to lease a work vehicle. Stedman claims he got approval to buy the SUV and has done nothing wrong. The commissioners responded to the suit, saying in part, quote, "We are extremely disheartened that significant county resources will be expended to bring this lawsuit that seeks to silence us on essential county government matters," end quote. The commissioners say they will defend themselves. New this morning, police in Lancaster are amping up DUI enforcements for St. Patrick's Day. There will be at least one stationary DUI checkpoint in place starting today. There will also be more officers on duty patrolling the streets looking for impaired drivers. Officials say St. Patty's Day is one of the deadliest holidays on roads across the country. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, in 2016, 234 people died in DUI crashes. Well, imagine being able to zip across the state, say from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia in just 30 minutes. Travel officials say it's not that far-fetched of a concept. CBS 21's Joe Ducey live along the turnpike to explain. Morning, Joe.
Yeah, Sherry, good morning. This is pretty cool. Last week, the Turnpike Commission awarded a $2 million contract to do a feasibility study on a Hyperloop system that would start in Pittsburgh, stop in Harrisburg, and go over to Philadelphia and up to the Scranton-Wilkes-Barre area. Now, this is video from a Hyperloop test out in California. The capsules would travel on a bed of magnets in an air-sealed tube and would travel at about 760 miles an hour, which is about the speed of sound. The study will look at things like potential cost and revenue, property and environmental impacts, and engineering and design. Turnpike officials say there's a chance the Hyperloop can be an above-the-ground system and would follow the path of and be trestled above the turnpike.
From an operational cost standpoint, the thing runs on a very simple electric motor, and because it exists in a vacuum, the energy costs are actually quite low. And building it above ground, kind of think of it like a pipeline that exists above ground, would allow you to make additional connections.
The study is expected to take between 18 months and 2 years to complete. Coming up next half hour, what travel officials say a Hyperloop system would mean for Pennsylvania's economy. Reporting live in Dauphin County, Joe Ducey, CBS 21 News.
Thank you, Joe. 8 people are without a home this morning after a fire. Crews responded to the 2 alarm blaze in the 100 block of South Pitt Street yesterday evening, just before 6. No word on any injuries. The cause of the fire is still under investigation. Officials are making sure children in our area know the dangers of misusing prescription drugs. Yesterday, the Rite Aid Foundation announced it's launching an online drug safety program for students in the Harrisburg School District.
To the nearest dollar.
This program actually says if we teach young people about what is the impact of using prescription drugs, then we can actually let them make rational choices about whether they should use it or not.
Officials say the goal is to keep the next generation from abusing drugs and falling victim to the opioid epidemic. The investigation continues into the deadly Ethiopian Airlines plane crash. We'll show you what the flight's black box looks like and the dilemma Boeing now faces. Plus, remembering Owen Brzezinski, the event being hosted in the Dauphin County's Boys Honor this weekend.
Well, you know, just an unbelievably warm start. We've got temperatures here mid-March that are already in the 50s and 60s. Of course, it can't last. I'll let you know when some colder air is going to get here with my first morning forecast.